It's break time. Welcome to our 9th episode. It's your co-host, Rissy Ray.
Hey.
And yours truly, Kaninja. Today we're going to talk about a popular topic for a while, the infamous stimulus checks. Right. I guess I shouldn't really be sounding too excited about this one. So right now, I guess a lot of people have already gotten their stimulus checks. Rissy, I know you've been following this a lot more than I have. So I guess let's start from the first stimulus check.
Stimulus check.
Yes, the first, and this is the second after a year.
Well, what I found interesting, just researching everything right now, is that I'm just going to shorten it and call it the COVID-19 stimulus bill that was passed in December is actually half of March's.
Yeah, because in March you get 1,200, right?
Yes. So not only did you had 1,200 and it declined for like the direct payments anyway. Okay, I will say this. For direct payments for adults, yes, that went down, but for children it went up. So for adults or individuals married it was 12, children was 500, and then for the first CARES Act that was passed in March was 500. For the one in December was 600.
Okay.
So there's that.
Still didn't equal out though.
No. It's definitely not equaling out because, for example, the unemployment insurance, which is a weekly addition to the state benefit. So I think a lot of people have to also be mindful that in reference to the unemployment insurance is in addition to the state benefit. Okay, so people who did apply back in March and everything and up till now, they still have to go through the cycle of they still have to go through the state channels. Okay, so it's not like you got it and then it's not like it passed and then you got it. You still had to go, like the department that is over that area would still have to do their research, make sure that you met the criteria for unemployment first. And then from there you would receive it. And the time did take a while for a lot of people. I've seen it range for months for some people. In some households, that's what I say. In some households. So the unemployment insurance is a weekly addition to the state benefit. And there's a maximum. There was a maximum 17-week benefit of $600 per week. With the new stimulus that just was enacted in December is a maximum of 11-week benefits, and it went down to $300 per week.
I thought that it was for 17 weeks was the benefit. So when did it end? I mean, I remember hearing from my family members that it ended around like November or like August or something, not August, so October or November or something along those lines. Because at one point people were starting to say like, yeah, I'm not getting those weekly unemployment checks anymore. I need to figure out how I'm going to get more hours, or I'm going to figure out how I'm going to find a job or something along those lines. Isn't that what happened? I guess that was the end of the 17 weeks, or was it still going on through December?
Sure. So my information is from USA Today, and the unemployment program was set to end December the 26th. So it probably, depending on when, with them receiving their check, they just put 2 and 2 together that, hey, I'm good. I'm out now. That's it.
Okay. So I guess at one point, for those family members that I had, if they were not getting those unemployment checks, like they were, filing for them every week, I guess, if they weren't getting the 600, I guess at that point through the board, they were saying, yeah, you don't need the 600. You just get a certain amount or something.
Right. And so again, you're still getting the state benefit, but you're getting that additional $300 per week. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the unemployment insurance, because if anyone has listened to our previous episode, I feel like people kind of have an idea of our political views, dun, 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 and where we kind of sway in all this. What I find is very, very interesting is that there is more splitness, I guess, division between the unemployment insurance that I expected to see. And the reason why I say this is I'll say it's just a particular group where you're thinking, okay, they should be willing to, I'm talking about regular people, regular folks.
Right.
Some people are like, that 600 per week was way too much. And, 300, some people feel like the 300 is too much. And the thought process for people who did state that, hey, that unemployment insurance, that's too much, is that a lot of people, the theory is, well, this is the discussion, is that people did not return to work.
Oh.
That they're like, hey, even though there's like criteria to keep the status for unemployment, I'm not 100% because I've never filed unemployment. So I'm not sure. I mean, I, again, have my research, but I've never went through the process personally. So I'm not sure like what they have to hit every time or to maintain that status. But some people are like, hey, I'd rather be at home than get this, this free money. Okay. And some people are like, hey, these are households out here that do not know when, again, like how you mentioned earlier, they don't know when it will stop.
Right.
And there are jobs out there. I will say there's jobs out there, but the job that you had, these jobs that are out here may not be comparable. Like, for example, you might have a job and the job that you're saying may pay the same amount like you used to in your former occupation, but it's an extra 40 minutes away.
Right.
Okay. So what do you do in that sense? Because honestly, you're getting paid the same or maybe a little bit more, whichever, but now it's not comparable.
Right. It's more expenses.
It's more expensive.
Yeah.
It's more expensive. So and so I lean on to the side of, hey, the households, they're not sure, they're looking, but hey, it is what it is. There are jobs out there, but if you are used to, it has to be comparable.
Right.
I feel anyway. It has to make sense. I can't get a job. Well, like I said, everyone's different. Let me say this. Everyone is different. But if I lose my occupation, my position, and the job is, again, maybe pay more, a little bit more, but it's an hour away, that doesn't really help me go back to the status that I once was before all this.
Right. So I mean, if you really look at it, let's look at the 600 a week. Mm-hmm. And that's, on certain occasions, but the 600 a week was about 2,400 a month, mm-hmm. Or 1,200 a paycheck. That's livable. That's definitely a livable wage. And I can see that that's going to certain people that maybe weren't making that amount before. And I know certain people who have been on unemployment, they have to have a certain amount of applications and proof of applications of looking for a job every week, every time they reapply, basically. So they have to show that they're looking and that they're trying. I don't know if for this situation that they still had those regulations in place in the beginning. Mm-hmm. I feel like it wasn't as strict. Now, but if we're going to the 300, let's just say, well, not just say, I mean, that's happening. Go to the 300, that's half. So that's $1,200 a month. That's $600 a paycheck. That is basically a delivery driver paycheck.
Pretty much.
For 2 weeks. That is less than, $1,200, just to say $1,200, if you really think about it, is a little bit higher than the average rent. And maybe a little bit less than the average rent in certain places of the country. And that's rent. That's not mortgage, that's not anything, that's average rent. And so I can see, maybe the government saying, hey, you guys aren't looking for a job. Okay, true. I can see certain people saying this is a lot more money. I don't need to look for a job because it's more than what I would have gotten if I were to be working, which is a whole separate issue altogether. So maybe something else that we could talk about maybe a little bit later. But I can see that they are saying that. However, the first stimulus check was back in March. We're getting the second one now, which is in January. I guess it passed in December, but we're in January now. So what is that? That's how many months? Like 8 months, 9 months, 10 months? Throughout that entire time, they had the unemployment, but certain people still had their job, which is good. You know, other people didn't. And then obviously from some of the people that I have, talked to, at one point, it wasn't the full $600.
Right.
So it wasn't like they got $600 for these 17 weeks doing nothing. And I know some people who were like, look, this is helping me more than anything else. This is how, and think about this, like on a totally separate note. And some people are like, oh, you're just giving my money. When you think about it, which people are more likely to stimulate the economy? It's us. It's the people who are renting, have a house, don't make oodles and boodles of money. It's the people who are going to go out there and buy stuff. So if you give people money, they're going to put it right back into the economy. Instead of giving people like who the rich or whoever, they're going to save it. So one, it's you're helping stimulate the economy by giving people money, is one thing. And two, and I don't know why they just don't want to touch this, is that you're making people actually understand what a livable wage really means and what really is, instead of having to struggle every single day. I mean, our last podcast, we were just talking about how like $1,200 is a month's salary, a month's income based off of the minimum wage of $7.25. $1,200 is for a month. Again, when I'm talking about $1,200, that's just for rent. That's not utilities. That's not childcare. That's not food. That's not gas. That's not anything else. That's just for that. So I know I'm diverging into a whole different topic.
You're fine.
It drives me crazy when people put into the context of it's too much. The only argument I can see is that people aren't looking for a job. I can see that 100%. But is it too much? No, that's a livable wage. That's enough.
It is just enough. It is just enough. And also some people who are not aware, you on the federal level, you do pay taxes on your unemployment on the federal level. It is taxable. Okay. So a lot of people, I mean, some people are not aware of that part. They feel like it's similar to the stimulus check. Again, if you're not familiar with the whole process, if you personally didn't go or things of that nature, you're thinking like it's like the stimulus, how it's money that we don't have to give back in some way, shape, or form. It is not. On the federal level, it's taxable.
Okay.
So individuals, households are not just getting money it's taxable. And we all know from going to school, the more you make, the more they take. So if you are receiving unemployment, please be mindful that, hey, on a level it is taxable. Okay. And that is taxable. Now on the state level, because there's federal and there's state, there are states that do waive income taxes on unemployment checks. And that is if you live in California, Montana, New Jersey, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Okay, they're tax exempt. Now there are about 7 states that do not do a state income tax, and that's going to be Alaska, Florida, Nevada, South Dakota, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming. And this information I'm getting from NBC from a report in reference to the unemployment and in reference to the unemployment benefits. And this was an article that went out on May of 2020. Okay.
Okay. So I guess just so I'm understanding you correctly, with the taxes, when you get your unemployment, so I didn't do unemployment because I was fortunate enough to still keep my job. When you get your unemployment, does it come already taxed, or is that something that you get like a 1099 at the end of the year that you have to file for your taxes?
That I'm not 100% sure if it comes with like I get what you're saying, like a little tax statement or something that shows you like, hey, this is what you received and all that good stuff. No, I'm not sure how it's being handled.
Mm.
I do know that it does come to you straight. From my understanding,
it's not taxed.
It's not taxed when you receive it. No.
Okay, so it probably most likely will come into a form. If it is a taxed thing, it will come into a form of either a 1099 or something at the end. When you run your taxes, it'll take out that amount of taxes. Because I know that some jobs that people work that don't take out taxes. Because you can choose to either, what is it? I think certain jobs you can choose, but some jobs don't tax you right away and they do your taxes right at the end. So you have to pay those taxes at the end, kind of like a house. So you can choose to not have your taxes, your house taxes, your property taxes, a part of your mortgage. You can actually have it separate.
Yes.
And you can pay it separately. So like for me, I have it a part of my mortgage. I think that certain jobs do that because that's why they have like those 1099s where it's just like, oh, hey, by the way, this is what you owe from this entire year of getting paid or something along those lines. I could have that all wrong. So break room buddies, correct me if I'm wrong. Rissy, if I'm wrong, definitely correct me if I'm wrong as well. So I think something along those lines, if it is taxed and you're not getting it taxed when you receive it, then you will see it whenever you do your taxes, the following year, I would assume.
Yes, ma'am. No, now, okay, I'm sorry. I do want to add it. You are able to voluntarily have your unemployment benefits withheld through your benefits portal.
What does that mean?
So, like how you go for your health insurance, like your employee website. So you are able to elect. It's voluntary, so it's not something you have to do, but you could do to have some of your unemployment be taken out, so you're not dealing with a huge tax bill at the end of the year.
Ah, okay.
So you are able to fill out a withholding form at your unemployment office. You can do that. You can do that.
That's totally something that I would do. Like if I was receiving unemployment, because sometimes getting those tax statements at the end of the year and everyone's just like, yeah, we're gonna get a big check, and then that can kick you right in the butt.
Right. So that's just putting out there. I know there are talks between kind of with the unemployment insurance, how that's too much money, it's making people not work, or hey, I feel like it's uncertain times, and they don't have that. They need a rainy day fund like everyone else.
Right.
And so yeah, unemployment, and it is taxed on a federal level. It is taxed on the state level. It depends on where you live.
Wow, I had no idea it was taxed. I guess it makes sense. Tax everything. So
yeah, but I do want to, in reference to the unemployment, that also help other types of workers, so not just the traditional workers, but like gig workers, like construction, self-employed workers, owners. That unemployment work for people who wouldn't necessarily get it on a regular, like if everything was normal. That's the best way to describe it. In a normal situation, some people would not qualify for the pandemic. It's called officially the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Benefit. Some people would not qualify based on just different factors, but it included a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily qualify in a regular perfect setting. That's the best way to describe it. So that is not just regular people who just like, hey, I work at the place down the street and they're closed. It's for other people who wouldn't necessarily receive that. So,
Mm.
hey, just a little bit of tidbit, just a little bit of information, so that you're not thinking it's just money given away to just somebody who doesn't want to work.
Right, exactly. I mean, and then also, like, if you think about it too, there are some people who are out of work, and even $600 a week still does not equate to what they earned when they were working. You know, some people it is more, but some people it isn't. So they could have lost their job because the business just tanked. I mean, there was a whole bunch of restaurants that gone out of business. There were a whole bunch of what was it? Retail stores that went out of business. So like the managers there, the people who are, you know, working there, but they may be making more money, you know, maybe not, but they may be making more money where like $600 was still less than what they would have made if they were working, and they're trying to find something that is equal. But not many people were hiring through the pandemic. So because there's a lot of restaurants that were closed, a lot of places, I'm not going to say just restaurants, but a lot of places that were closed. And going back to like contractors or anything along those lines, a lot of people were not hiring contractors because people did not have money to pay them. So those people who are trying to earn a living through their own business couldn't even do that. People were spending less money. If people spend less money, then the people who are working are getting less hours, because it's, you know, it's costing more money to keep those people working. But people are spending less money, then less hours. It's a whole trickle down effect. And so, yeah, some people, it might have been too much for some people, but in the grand scheme of things, you're helping out the economy. You're helping out your fellow person.
You absolutely are.
So at the end of the day, I mean, I didn't get it. And I'm okay that I didn't get it, because I was lucky enough to still have my job. But if I did get it, and I, you know, God forbid I did lose my job, that I would have been in foreclosure.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to afford where I live right now.
Right.
You know, that wouldn't have been enough.
No.
You know, for me. And I'm very fortunate at that situation. But luckily I wasn't in that situation, but some people may have been in that situation. So when you're talking about employee insurance, is that what you were referring to? Like people thinking that it was too much?
Right. In reference to just the unemployment insurance. No. Had we had it our way, everybody getting 10 grand today.
Hey.
Like
per day.
Per day, like just per day. Like you got a kid, you get 20,000. Like what? We college right there. Your college fund is right there, because that is. I think everyone's on the consensus of, hey, or anyone who is knowledgeable of economics. Okay, you don't have to be an expert or professor or things of that nature, but if you understand the workings of economics, all right, give me my 30 grand. Okay,
this is from 10 to 20 to 30.
Right, because I'm just like, because it's like, well, I was telling, I had a conversation with Kaninja earlier that, you know, if we had all received, you know, majority, depending on different factors, received the 1,200. There wasn't a lot of spending collectively going on.
Right.
Well, I'll say this, within my circle, there wasn't collectively that. Maybe like 1 or 2 bills, maybe a shirt here or there, but not like big purchases, right? And even with the holiday season, I mean, I think people figured it out. Everyone's like, hey, I'll do it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure this out. But with the 1,200, a lot of people saved, right? Because we're thinking we don't really, there's so much uncertainty. Prices of certain things may cut, like Lysol. Side note, Lysol. Like when you go on different websites to try to get some Lysol used to be how much a can? I don't even know how much it used to be.
I think it used to be like what, $3 or $4, maybe $5.
People charging $15, $20 for a can of Lysol.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so that money, that the funds that we did receive, is for those rainy days. Like it's like, hey, I need a can of Lysol, or I need gloves, or just the essentials. I need juice, I need water, I need fruits and
Toilet paper.
vegetables. Toilet
That's
the
what we
year
need.
the year of the toilet paper. So with the year of the toilet paper going on here, that 1,200, it would honestly just be towards just let me just get through it. We don't have a lot of discretionary spending right now, because we're not thinking that. We're thinking of saving for a rainy day. Now, had we gotten what I'm just throwing number the 10 grand like I'm talking about, me and Kaninja will be matching jewelry from head to toe. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We'll get jewelry everywhere. We'll get the ears, we'll get the nose, the lip, the necklaces, the waist,
get some tattoos going.
tattoos. And think about it. I'm hitting all these points, right? Do you know how many businesses would see increase in sales from us saying, heck yeah, let's do it? Like, we've paid how many people? Like, even though we just bought this jewelry at Kay's Jewelry or whatever, department store or whatever, you've paid essentially the payroll for those people to even be there. Then the makers, it flows, it trickles. What we just did when we went to all 12, we got new shoes, Kaninja, we got purses. Give me a brand. What brand do you like?
Coach.
We got Coach. Okay, what about that? We got Coach and a Louis Vuitton bag. Okay, we got both of those on top of our new shoes, on top of our jewelry. That's going to stimulate the economy. Not 1,200 where everybody wants to save.
Right, or pay off debt, because that's what a lot of people did that I know of. They either saved or they paid off debt that they already had.
Right, like they already had but the plan was already there. The goal was to already, oh yeah, I'm gonna work on some of these credit cards and these personal loans. I'm already gonna pay for that. Yeah, and you know what I mean. Like, it was already gonna happen, and then you paying off a debt doesn't necessarily help anything. I mean, it does help in other ways, but it's not really helping right now. Like, versus you going out to your local small business and buying $100 worth of product.
Yeah,
that's not as stimulating as your debt.
Right, and we can see that already. That everything, we didn't get enough to stimulate the economy because we already have stores that are closing. We already have businesses that are going out of business.
I know.
So businesses that we wouldn't even ever expected to go out of business, or to close. So like Bed Bath & Beyond near the mall or in the mall is no longer there, or is not being there. I think it's no longer there. So of course they have online. I mean, it doesn't take much to do online. So, but that store was a big store, and that store was there from the very beginning of the mall. Right. And so because of this pandemic, it no longer could have stayed in that mall. Same with certain, like we said, like certain restaurants like Foster's Grill. That was like, it was more family owned, but that's been there since, I don't know, 10 plus years. So the certain businesses that you would not have expected to go out went out, and it shows that the first of all, the unemployment and the stimulus check that we got in March just was not enough to do anything. It kept people. You know how when you're in the water and you feel like you're drowning. It kept people treading water, but only enough where your nose and mouth are sticking out of the water. It kept people slightly from drowning fully. And then now what this is going to happen, if with the 300, or the 600 they give us and then the 300 a week, what this is going to happen is that if businesses don't start opening up, or people are still not able to get jobs, we're going to continue going lower and lower and continue to drown under debt, because people are using their credit cards to pay off bills. They were doing that before. They're doing that more now.
We're doing it more. Give it to us.
Exactly. Is that smart? No. But people are doing it because they have to get by. So on that note, we are going to go on a break. I know it's very abrupt.
We're on break.
We're on a break. Cooling down. So when we come back, we're going to talk more about the stimulus check. We're going to talk more a little bit about what happened recently, I guess in December, early January, with the House, the Senate, kind of the $2,000 ordeal, and kind of where we are now, at least from Rissy in my perspective. So with that, we'll be back. And we're back. So I just want to say, Rissy Ray is awesome and amazing. She has all the information, at least for this podcast, and I just want to shout out to her. So.
Whatever. This is the stuff that, you know, we got to go reputable people for the most part with the information that we have. But I definitely want to let our listeners know this is not a political episode, okay? It is not. This is about the money, okay? We trying to get to the money, all right? So I don't care if you got I said I ran it before we started this. I'm sorry. I forgot my speech.
I don't care if you're a Republican veteran or an anti-abortionist or
a socialist or
you're
you know, like whatever. I don't care. We trying to get to the money. Okay. It's the money. This episode is just about these checks. Okay. And that is what we are on. I feel like a lot of the American people are on the same page. It's about the checks. Okay.
At the end of the day, that's all we want. We just want a check so we can continue living our lives. How it happens is just like, yeah, it's extra, you know, all that stuff, but we want the check. We want the money so we can continue living our lives and not have to be underwater, like we mentioned earlier.
Exactly. You can have different political views and we can respect it. Okay. You do what you do and I do what I do. But if you can't pay your rent, you do not have food in your home. Okay. That is a problem. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's all I have to say. That is a problem. You know, everyone's open to feel how they feel, think what they think, but we should all be able to survive.
Right. Exactly. It kind of goes back to the one team, one dream, united, you know, we all are, we just want to survive.
That's it.
So that's it.
So we talk about these checks, okay? And what got a lot of people very upset is that this recently passed bill that passed in December, okay? This stimulus check or whatever, well, no, the bill itself did not include any direct payments to American people at all. Like $0. $0.00, Kaninja.
So nothing.
Nothing. And when it was presented, because, you know, they got to put it on a silver platter, right? Like, hey, you know, you want this. I know you want to vote on this, right?
On $0 for Americans.
Yeah, and that 0 cents. And don't forget the 0 cents, okay?
You know,
don't forget that part.
As a side note, I'd be pissed if they were like, yeah, let's give every American 5 cents. I'd be like, screw you. Screw you.
So
5 cents.
Right. So they present this bill that has 0 direct payments and was like, we good on this, guys? And everybody's like, what? Hold on, what? So obviously we're thinking there's so many factors, so many reasons as to why, like, what? Mm-hmm. Why is there not direct payments to people? Mm-hmm. And so it went from negotiations to negotiation, which in my mind, maybe I'll never understand politics. Maybe I need to take a trip or something, do a little internship to really understand some stuff. Because to me, I'm like, but it was a discussion. I'm like, oh, there's a discussion. What's the discussion about? Like, what is the whatever? So they discuss $0 between the 1,200 like previously, and they decided let's do the happy medium, 600.
And then Trump threw in the 2,000 in a tweet.
He became my best friend. I said, you go, Donnie. You yes. Put some extra zeros on there. I mean, pay the whole amount. But yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say that was an interesting phone call I got when that first came out, and Rissy, she calls me and she was like, Trump 2024. I'm like, I'm no longer your friend. We're no longer friends.
He came out of nowhere. Now everyone's just like, oh well, everyone has their opinion, but guess what? He said it though. Okay, sometimes your timing may be off, but whose timing isn't ever off?
I mean, I can tweet 4,000 too, so say, hey.
Sometimes, not everyone has the right timing all the time, okay? So chill out, okay?
I want you to be my lawyer. If anything happens, if I kill someone, timing. It was just timing. She was just in the wrong place, wrong time. The knife just happened to be in her hand. And, she had to have tripped over something, and the person just laid down.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Be my
Who wants to? Why? So be mindful that no one's perfect and timing may be off. Okay. I heard. I don't know where I heard this from, but I heard how. Okay. Well, this 2000 he could have mentioned maybe a few months earlier, and I was like, hey. Okay, hindsight is always 2020. Okay.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Okay, we crystal clear what we could have done, should have done, would have done. All right, give him a break.
You're really saying that because it's so 2000. Because Rissy want her money, and at this point, it doesn't matter who gives it to her.
Right, it's like you said, what? Okay, you 2024, 2028. I don't. Whoever, what you need, what he wants to get votes recounted. Recount them for him, sir.
So we can get our 2,000.
So we can get our 2,000. All right. He said something was off. Let's check it. What's so wrong with checking?
For like how many times now? Right. No political. Back to the checks. Okay.
Hey, if he needs a 5, 6, 7, 8 times, hey, give him that 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Mr. Sam. Whatever he needs, so we can go do that. And so, yes, I feel like when we talk about economics and discretionary spending, that 2,000 would help the economy immensely.
Oh, absolutely.
600, like I said, is certain amounts where there would be some spending involved, of course, but it'd be more saving than anything.
Right, we're paying off debt that they accrued during this pandemic, even more so.
There's no, the best way to describe it is like there's no motivate. Like if I got the 600 or whichever, then I'm like, hey, this is rainy day fund. This is if my vehicle, knock on wood, of course, if something were to happen to my vehicle and I got to do a major repair or something like that, or a major repair in the house, right?
Right.
Like something might come up and you're just like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what, $600 can cover what, 2 tires? At least 2 tires.
Now, if you get those questionable tires, it might get you all 4.
Then you have to spend a whole other next amount in the next month or so.
Yeah, it's not gonna work. Yes, it's you're terrible. You're like, you guys. I saw what you said.
I mean, we just gotta put it in perspective here, okay? If you got bad tires in your car, the $600 is probably gonna cover like 2 of your tires.
So you're like, and you just need all 4 when you get an accident. So hey, win-win.
I mean, we're going back to what we were talking about in our previous podcast. Hey, just get into an accident. You'll get more money that way.
Yeah. Just pee on yourself. That's what I was told. Pee on yourself a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, all jokes aside, maybe not, but literally, if you get into an accident, you could get more money than the $600.
Yeah. If you're just like, oh, I'm fine, boom, they just say you 500 just because.
Yeah, with less negotiation than the government had to do to get us to $600.
And again, Kaninja's gonna send me up in Washington so I can go and do a little internship and figure out how this works, because I want to see how like something like to me is super legit, where I'm like, okay, we're all in. No, huh? Wait, hold on. Let me just, and this is either side. I am not like saying like, hey, because my friend wants to jump off the bridge, I'm gonna go. Sometimes I might, but sometimes I'd be like, hey, like, how's the weather outside? Okay, like,
Is the traffic bad? I
It's probably bad before we go and do that. So I'm whichever. But yeah, so what is your Kaninja? What is everyone's reaction? I've been getting a whole roller coaster ever since, the with the pandemic and everything and all the restrictions apply, change of my life. I've been going through like a roller coaster.
So
honestly.
I have a little bit as well. I mean, for myself, I'm not really affected, fortunately, and I guess my own selfish greediness, unfortunately. But I'm not really affected either way because I'm not going to get it. So from what I saw on, I'm gonna put out some facts here too, so I'm not looking like the slacker here on CBSNews.com. What I found out, what I found out is that you actually, with every $100 more that you earn from the 75,000 or the 150,000 from the married couples, for every $100 more that you earn, you reduce the stimulus check by $5. So if you, and I guess if you earn like 80,000, you'll probably still get a portion of, or you may get a portion. So if you made like 76,000, you may get a portion of the stimulus check. So you'll get something, but of course, if it's over that amount, like let's say if you, I think I did the math, I think it's like 175 or 17,000. If you make 17,000.
See,
if
this
you make,
is bullshit. I mean,
it is. It's that math. But like if you earn a little bit more than that cutoff, they reduce the stimulus check by 5. So of course, if you earn more and the difference is less than, it's like you're in the negatives if you minus it from 600, then of course you're not going to get anything. So that is, and the same with the 1,200 is what I found out. So either way, for me, it was a whirlwind because I didn't know if I was going to get affected about it or not. But then I found out recently. I was like, oh, okay, well, fortunately and unfortunately, because I'm greedy, that happened. But other people's reactions was surprising because everyone was very like indifferent. They're like, we're not going to get it. Like everyone I was around was, it's not going to happen. We're not going to get the 2,000. We'll just get the 600. We're not going to get 2,000. And I'm like, but what would you do? They're like, there's no point in talking about because there's no way we're going to get the 2,000. Like there's so much, I don't want to say distrust, but I guess it is like distrust on that kind of help from the government that's not even something that they like to entertain in their head. They get their hopes up. They're just like, it's not going to happen. And so of course it didn't happen. They're like, see, that's why. I'm like, God damn it. So
oh, okay, gotcha.
So it was interesting seeing those kind of reactions. And of course myself, it was a whirlwind because I was just like, oh wow, like Bernie and some other senators are like really trying to push this 2,000 until I think it was the last day of New Year's Eve, and trying to delay the defense spending bill and to try to get this 2,000. And of course, the votes didn't really go into their favor because of other things. We're not talking about political, but they didn't go into their favor. They could not vote on it during that time. And so at that point, they're like, we're just doing the 600. So for me, it was interesting how I did not see a lot of excitement or reaction. And like at this point in time, a lot of people's thought are, I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay.
They're like, there's no way. I mean, you got to think about it though. Like people have been struggling for almost the whole year, past year.
Yes.
And with no help. I mean, yeah, they have some unemployment, but people who are actually still working are struggling. And with unemployment, you can only work, I think it's like 10 hours to get unemployment. So if you are working at a place and you're working 10 hours or under, you still qualify for unemployment. That's one of the qualifications. So it's either I reduce my hours so I can at least make it by, or I keep working here. And they're struggling because people either are like for delivery drivers, people are not tipping, or, you know, for people who work in the medical field, they are busting their butt every day because of the coronavirus with no incentive whatsoever.
Mm.
You know, so people are exhausted. They are so tired, more so than any other year, you know, at least outside of the pandemic, you know, they are exhausted.
Mm.
So when you have people that are waving, yeah, we're gonna get this 2,000, they're like, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when it's in my account, because I don't have the energy to be excited over something that may not happen. So I'm like, damn, you know, that kind of hit me hard a little bit, because I was just like, I mean, I was getting excited until I
Right,
found out I wasn't gonna get
absolutely.
it.
You're like, oh. Oh.
I know. But I mean, I was just like, yeah, well, it's kind of expected. I mean, it's funny because, you know, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get this and we can, you know, spend it on vacation. Stuff.
Or
But that catch up on my debt.
you're like, so my stuff. So let me take care of my stuff.
Exactly.
Which gets to people's reaction. I think a lot of people with the first round of checks, and obviously the second one is coming out or has already been out to most people, is people who don't qualify for any stimulus check, or if they didn't qualify for the first round nor the second one, or a mixture of both, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my first thing was the young people.
Mm-hmm.
So with the stimulus package, okay, you received, you know, us, or, you know, parents or who have guardians or whatever, we received an extra for the first round, an extra 500
Mm-hmm.
for child or dependent under the age of 17. So they got to be both a dependent plus under the age of 17.
Okay.
And a lot of families that I saw on my Facebook feed were like, okay, well, I do have a 17-year-old, 18-year-old who, you know, doesn't quite file yet, or, you know, whatever the tax situation is, and they didn't receive, the family nor the like, no, they did not receive anything for that dependent because they reached that age, right? And I did see, I saw some people a little bit upset about that, right? They're like, hey, they still live with me and they are independent. They're just under the age of 17 and we don't get a check for them. What?
Right.
Well, the best way I can answer this without getting people too much upset is the reason for this age cutoff has to do with the child tax credit. Okay. So parents or guardians are able to see like 1,000 type deal for a tax refund for each child under the age of 17. So that's pretty much where I want to put at least 100 pennies on it, where the thought process came from.
$1. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
100 pennies. that is where they were aligning with other tax law.
I mean, that makes sense. Is making it, you know, across the board. And it makes sense across the board. Like if we're going by these regulations or rules for taxes, then we should go by the same thing. So
now it could still be an option that you know, Congress probably used to kind of keep the cost of the bill down. I mean, it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money that, you know, that they're using in regards to funding for education, healthcare professionals, small businesses, contact tracing, like the vaccinate, like it's so much money because it's so many things are happening at once, right? It's just a lot of stuff that's happening. It's not just one or the other. It's all.
Right.
But I will say that, hey, that would align, which again, a lot of people may not still agree. Mm-hmm. You know, I get it, but there is a cutoff with that child tax credit.
Right. And mm-hmm. Even though people may not agree, it at least makes sense. You know, and it's just like, okay, well, that's a child tax credit. That's what we've been doing. I mean, you can't really claiming people over the age of 18. You can't really do that when you file your taxes.
People
Therefore,
do it, right? People do that. They can, yeah, you can. I mean, everyone's tax situation is different. So, everyone does taxes different. Okay. I'm going to say taxes.
okay.
But college students under the age of 24 can be claimed as dependents by their parents or guardians.
Really?
That is, yes. So they can do that. They most certainly can.
Can you do it like if they're not in college?
I'm just using that example, but yeah, you can. Yes. So up to 24, if you're in that 17-24 range, you can be claimed as a dependent.
Oh.
I mean, you can be obviously over if there's a reason why you're considered dependent. If you're giving like more than 50% of house living expenses, stuff like that, and like if you're dealing with like older person, like if you're like something like that, or someone who needs extra care, something like that, they can still be considered dependent, right, to you, because they're dependent of you, and that's your tax situation. It's just that extra relief that you're getting, you're not getting it if they're over the age of 17 and 18.
Oh, okay. Now I can see why people will be mad. Okay. I was thinking like if you can't claim people that are over the age of 17 or all that stuff, then it would make sense because it'll be across the board. But since that is not the case, you can claim people that are over the age of 17, based off their own circumstances, then yeah, it's kind of bullshit.
Right. So those are those unique stuff where, there's always an exception to the rule. There's always going to be an exception to the rule.
Right.
In life.
Exactly.
But yeah, it doesn't include everyone, yes.
I can see, this is where it would make sense to me, that it would apply to people to the kids that have been claimed in the previous year's tax returns. So like, because that's what I've been hearing, is that a lot of these stimulus checks and all that stuff are based off of 2019's tax returns, or like tax statements.
Yes.
So
it's last year's.
Right. So it's based off of their salary and so on and so forth. So I can see if you claimed these children during that time on your tax report, then I can see it would also apply for the stimulus check. But if it doesn't, and there's a mismatch there, which for my sister, there was a mismatch with her son. And her son was born in 2019, and apparently she had to register him somehow to actually get that certain amount for the first stimulus check. So this is not even for the second one. This is for the first one.
My baby didn't exist. Right.
It acted like he did not exist in 2019 when he did. And they had to register him and prove that, he's her child.
Oh, Lord.
That's not even over the age of 18 or 17. Like, he's literally born then. So that's already a different flaw. But I can see that it would make people mad if they claim these people and it was not a part of their stimulus check. How are you going to try to make a match for the stimulus check for your income, but not a match for who you claim? It's not apples to apples anymore.
Right.
If it was apples to apples, that would make a whole bunch of sense. It would be easy. It'd be like, all right, you claim these people, this is what it is, here you go, wipe my hands off it and you're good. But now you're comparing apples to oranges or apples to bananas, and you're saying, well, because of your apple, your banana is going to look like this. No, that makes no sense.
Why are you bringing up bananas, Kaninja? What's
because it's a lot different than orange and apple. So I'm trying to make something completely different than what an apple looks like.
All right. Okay.
It's your mind.
All things. Whatever.
I said oranges first, but they're too similar in looking alike with each other.
Like, you see this? You see what I deal with, Breaker Buddies? Like, it's just everything sexual.
You see what I deal with, Breaker Buddies? Mine was innocent, and she made a whole different turn.
And bananas, the way you said it, I'm like,
Back to the checks.
So another thing, so a lot of people are like, okay, so you have the 17, 18-year-old or whatever age that you claim is dependent. Again, you have to understand in the eyes of IRS what is considered dependent and when you're considered independent. So of course, an emancipated minor, and that is someone who is a minor who is independent, they would have not been in this umbrella because they file independently. They're not considered. So be mindful that a dependent is someone who you are providing more than a certain amount of their everything. Okay. That's a short version of it. So yeah, they did it. And so I had a lot of people very upset. They're like, okay, so my kid doesn't get any? Yeah, kind of. But guess what? You're not alone. Think about it. Let's say you have a family member, your spouse, I'll say spouse or a child or, under the age or whatever of 17 who was a dependent, and you received a check and they died. A lot of arguments that some people brought up was like, well, why do people, dependent, I take care of these people and their dependents and things like that, but there's people who get checks for dead people. Okay, ouch, you're insensitive, by the way. By that's one. Two, it is based on what year? It is based on 2019 information strictly. Yeah. They did not pass. You did not write. I know there's a paperwork for it, but they did not pass away in 2019.
Right.
So therefore, they qualify because we're doing everything based on 2019.
And hello, COVID. Everyone, I mean, not everyone's dying, but there's a lot of people who are dying that, it was not exactly predicted that they would die. I mean, a lot of surprise deaths has happened this year, not this year, but in 2020, so again, insensitive, but also, hey, we had a lot of deaths in 2020. Sorry.
No, we did. So you don't know like whose death is what. You don't know if someone passed away because of natural causes, an accident, COVID. You don't know. And from information from CNET stated that the IRS sent almost 1.1 million payments, totaling 1.4 billion to deceased individuals. And this is according to the U.S. Government Accountability Office. Okay.
Wow. That's how many people died.
You know what?
That's how many people died in 2020. Yes. You just look at that. Like, I'm done.
I know, right? Now they are saying they are making some updates here that if you're with the second check, because I believe in that situation, some families did have to send the funds back. I'm not sure what was the complete criteria because there are exceptions to that. So the exception would have been if you receive your spouse's Social Security survivor benefits, right? Then you would not have, you were not required to send that back. Now with the second check, it's a little bit different. If again from CNET, if your spouse died in 2020 and your adjusted gross income was less than I'm just saying, it's less than 112,000 a year, just saying, you'd be eligible for the full refund, the full 600 amount. I'm sorry, not refund, but you'll be eligible for that 600.
So if that's based off of the 2019 tax return, and if your significant other dies in 2020, do you I would assume you have to fill out some sort of form.
Yeah, so luckily me nor Kaninja have experienced this part of our lives yet of dealing with a deceased spouse, but yes, I do believe there's something
during a pandemic.
During a pandemic. So we assume there has to be something out there for us to figure out, right?
Okay, so for those of you who unfortunately have got to go through that situation, definitely look into it more and see if there is some sort of form that you guys could fill out or something along those lines, because they're going to have to know something. Like, they're going to have some sort of form, because we have yet to fill out our tax returns for 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no other way of them really knowing that, unless there is a form filled out, or something along those lines.
True. So that child support. The first stimulus check, actually, if you owed some child support payments, the government did give states the right to garnish the amount of your check. Yeah. So if you were like, hey, I owe, $2,000 or whatever, like let's say you owe $2,000 in child support, you're, in theory, or it actually did happen for some people, your entire stimulus check would go to child support or to the other parent.
What?
Or if you owed amount that was that would, I guess, leave you a refund or whatever, or leave you something over, then that amount would be taken from your check and then you would get the rest.
Wow.
Now, yeah, so if you owe child support, that was something I did see, that if you owe child support, states did have the right to garnish that amount from your stimulus check.
I mean, looking on both sides, I can see it, but man, that sucks.
Just a little bit. Now, with the new rule, okay, it's stating that with the upcoming check or whatever, that you would be able to keep your check.
Okay.
You would be able to keep your check without it being automatically garnished.
Okay. So basically giving you a choice.
It won't right. Like, first of all, do the right thing. If you owe it and you owe it, just like, it only benefits the child.
Yeah.
If I'm a parent and you're an auntie, you understand. If you're struggling, they're used to a certain type of lifestyle that you're accustomed to, Kaninja, and you know what I mean. So it only hurts if you do what you supposed to do. So that's one thing I thought was pretty neat. That I was like, oh, so child support that was affected. Families. Oh, do you have anything to say about this before I squeeze in one more?
No, go ahead.
So for families, spouses that had like different citizenships, for example, if I was a U.S. citizen and my husband was a non-resident alien, which means that they did not pass the green card test. So the non-resident aliens, when you have not passed the green card test, okay, they did not qualify for the stimulus check. The family did not.
The family?
No.
Oh, wow. So even if, like, let's say one of them is, a natural born citizen here, if their significant other is not, then the whole family doesn't get it.
Right. Because, well, if you filed married, joint, right, whatever, you weren't able to receive the first check or your dependents if you filed jointly.
Okay. Wow.
To receive the first stimulus check, everyone, break room buddies, you would have needed to have a social security number.
Oh, okay. Right. All right. Right. That makes sense.
Or be a member of like the U.S. Armed Forces that tax year or something like that. Now, if you filed like married and separated type deal, then the spouse who is a U.S. citizen would have received partial or full stimulus payment.
Okay. So what about now? Do you know if it's going to be affected the same way?
So, yes. Oh, no. No. Yes. No. It's the alcohol. Hold on. So,
what will be the answer? Tune in next time.
So the newest stimulus bill allows non-U.S. citizens who have a U.S. A citizen spouse to receive a second stimulus, to receive the second check that's coming, $600.
Okay.
Household.
So for what I'm, oh, go ahead.
No, you good.
Oh, so what I'm really kind of understanding is that even though even though the outcome, the amount of the stimulus check is less, it looks like the regulations around the stimulus check this time around is actually a lot less regulated, I guess you can say, or there's not a lot of restrictions or limits, or certain people who don't qualify versus the first one, except for the salary cutoff, the income cutoff.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Like I'm looking at my research here, and like almost like an estimate like 16.7 million people in the US live in a mixed status household nationwide.
Mm,
So yeah, that barred a lot of people
yeah,
from assistance.
yeah.
From
So, and
assistance. Mm-hmm.
so that's probably, that could be one of the reasons why they had to negotiate, who would go against who. I mean, who would it apply to? Were the rules, the guidelines for it, and how much money would it really cost? Because
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you were to, and I don't know if this is right or not, but if you were to compare the amount of money it cost people cost the government the first time, I don't know about the people, because I mean, really, where is this coming from? Our tax dollars, right?
Right.
So it costs the people probably the same amount as it may cost the people this time around. If you compare the restrictions and you compare who they actually target or qualify for, it could be comparable to each other. Does that make sense?
Break group buddies, vote on this.
Rissy does not agree. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, to me, no, for me anyway, I feel like the debt, this is just me, my personal belief. The debt is, they keep saying it's a debt. You know, everyone has debt. America has debt. And this money that they're, putting in people's account is honestly, because we make our own currency, it's just a change of numbers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not really that they physically put $600 in there. It's just a change of numbers,
Mm-hmm.
So that's my whole view of it. It's like it's a change of numbers, and it's one of those things where when I go to the grocery store, okay, and I get my piece of candy, I can get it because I want that piece of candy. But if my darling, my heart and soul is like, I want candy too, I'm gonna tell her, no, you can't. Okay, mommy can't get that. Okay. It works for me for what I need, but not for you. Okay. Mind you, the same amount of money is there for both of our stuff. Okay.
Right.
This is how I feel.
Right. And I'm not saying it's like good or anything, or that's helpful. I'm just trying to think of kind of going back to the negotiations, why they had to negotiate $0 to $600 or $1,200 or whatever the case, and trying to see, what kind of went into that, just trying to look through the different regulations, different restrictions, all this stuff, comparing the two, and oh, okay, well, that's one thing, that's what they negotiated, but also what they had to come out. Now, granted, we're talking about the check, not talking about politics, because I'm going to say they went on to this defense spending bill, which is way more. And all the pork, I guess you can say, all the stuffing they put into this COVID relief bill that has nothing to do with people. But we're not going to get into that.
Right. But no, I completely agree with you, Kaninja. The fact is that this second, even though, yes, we are, in reference to direct payments, we are receiving less. In reference to unemployment insurance, the families are receiving less. But there are more people qualified who are qualifying for assistance. And that I definitely agree with. It's ranged more because, again, if you don't have a social, but you pay taxes, you get an ITIN number. And for the first round of checks, if you had an ITIN number within your filing, you did not qualify, okay, at all. Now, again, you would have qualified if, married to, your spouse, if the U.S. citizen spouse filed separately, because they have a social.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So now, but hey, families need help. We've already established that everyone needs help. So absolutely, I do feel in reference to that. Hey, yes, I do see more assistance. Again, with the deceased spouse, some people with the first round did have to return that back. But now with the second round, it seems like whatever their criteria is, you can keep that.
Right. Exactly. All right. So we are just about time. So before we get back to it, let's finish it out with our final thoughts. We'll have 30 seconds to talk about those thoughts. And Rissy, you want me to go first this time?
Oh no, I got you. It'll be quick. Mine be quick.
Okay.
Okay, let me go reset. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. We just want the money. Okay, give us the money. That is it. Everything that you guys want to do, I'm talking to them like I'm right there. Everything you guys want to do will work if you give us the money. All right. I hope everyone has a smooth transition with getting their money, because I know some people took forever. Some people, they got it like yesterday. Just give us the money. Thank you.
You have a lot better message than I do. All right. Ready, set, go. So I first want to say, Rissy, you again are awesome and amazing. She did a lot of research on the stimulus check. She's really been keeping up with, the talks and everything along those lines. So Rissy, you're very knowledgeable on this. So just want to say thank you for making this podcast very informative. Also, yes, we just want the money. And just keep going, guys. I mean, I know it's not a lot, it's something, but just keep going, and here's to a better year. There's really nothing much more that I can say, but hopefully you guys all enjoyed this conversation.
Can we put a disclaimer? Sometimes I can't read. So if my numbers are off, email us at ourbreakroom@gmail.com. If it was like, you're like, no, it wasn't billion, it was million. Oops. Okay. All right. Sometimes, get a little hype. So
hey, we're in the break room. We don't always have to be correct on everything.
I'm just saying, put a disclaimer, okay? If I get a little hype, oopsie. Okay, hype, oopsie.
All right. So again, guys, be sure to comment and leave your feedback on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and especially feedback. Give us some insight on what your guys' thoughts are with the stimulus checks and kind of how it went down, and any information that you guys like to share with us. We would love to hear it. And again, well, thank you guys all for listening in. Bye, Break Room Buddies.
Bye.
Thank you for spending your break with us. Time to get back to the grind. For some suggestions on what we talk about next time, send us an email at ourbreakroom@gmail.com. See you next time, Break Room Buddies.